I'm going to talk about kind of how I got into fashion and caring about style and everything like that. So that's kind of what this video is going to be focused on. So I lived in the country when I was younger, and that was for like elementary school. And then for middle school and high school, I went to a nearby town instead of the country. Yeah, when I lived in the country when I was little, I was there for elementary school and stuff. So I was with a lot of kids that I didn't really fit in with. A lot of them just had different ideals than me, and I don't know, I didn't see eye to eye with a lot of them. When I started going to the nearby town and kind of went out and moved away from the country for schooling, I'd get grouped in with the country kids a lot. So I just felt like I wanted to make myself distinct from those kids so I didn't get grouped in, and I guess kind of fashion was one way that I was able to make myself a little bit more distinct. I've always been just concerned about how I look. I know I went through phases like everybody does. You know, you had the sagging low jeans, kind of baggy jeans, yeah, all that type of stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of why I've always been concerned about how I look when it comes to clothes anyway. But as far as any designer stuff goes, like Supreme and like Antisocial and everything, I didn't really have a whole lot of exposure. Being from a small town, there weren't a lot of people who kind of like went out and stunted with Supreme, and definitely nobody wearing like Gucci or anything like that. So yeah, I wasn't really introduced to that. I knew like rappers were wearing Supreme and Gucci and LV and like Saint Laurent and stuff like that. But yeah, I never really had any exposure to that stuff. One of my friends did buy a Supreme jacket like in 8th grade, and I just remember our whole friend group was like, dude, why are you spending like, you know, hundreds of dollars on this denim jacket? And like looking back on it, it was a really cool jacket. But I think he spent like his whole summer's worth of lifeguarding money just to buy that jacket. But yeah, that was like my first exposure to Supreme. Guess that was my like foot in the door for streetwear. But yeah, after that, I didn't really have any exposure until college. My freshman year, I made a bunch of friends. One of them really opened the door to streetwear for me. They got me past the phase of like, oh wow, that's like so expensive, why would anybody ever buy that? To like, oh wow, that's pretty cool, like I kind of want some of this stuff. So yeah, that's kind of when it all started. In college, I go to the University of Iowa, so it's not like a really small college, not like a massive college, but it's decently sized. You've got a bunch of people, so you see people wearing all this stuff like Supreme, Palace, Bape, like you name it, Gucci shoes, Yeezys. I see those like every day walking around campus. So then, you know, went from in high school and all that stuff, never being exposed to fashion like this, to going to college where you'd see people wearing, you know, $1,000+ outfits every day. So that kind of marks the point where I started transitioning what I wore. I started getting a little bit more into streetwear. I think it was like 2015 or whatever. I started following Supreme that spring, summer, and then I got introduced to Palace as well. And I started looking at that, but I was like, I don't know. I kind of like Supreme a little bit more at that point. The following fall, winter of 2015 or 2016 season maybe, I don't know what it is. That one, I bought a sweatshirt, I believe, from Supreme. So I started buying some pieces, and then when the Sup-Tempos came out, which I just copped a pair of Up-Tempos, and I might actually buy another pair next week. So those are just like, I love those shoes. Those are my favorite. They're so beautiful. But I was able to get some of the Sup-Tempos, and it's actually kind of funny because I copped them in class. I was just chilling like way in the back of the lecture, and I did it on my phone too, which is, I don't know if you guys try copying stuff, but copying on your phone, as far as my experience goes, it's like way harder than trying to buy anything using your laptop. So I was really impressed that I was able to buy that using my phone. So yeah, I got the Sup-Tempos, and I was like, wow, you know, these shoes are going for a couple $100. I think at that point it was like around $400 that they were going for. So I was like, wow, you know, I can't wear these shoes. I'm not gonna walk around in $400 pair of shoes, or you know, some shoes that would go for $400. If it was now, like me today, if I would have gotten those Sup-Tempos, I probably would have kept them. But just how I thought back then, being a little more strapped for cash, I decided to resell them. So I resold those, and that's how I got my foot in the door for reselling. So from then on, I don't think I copped anything for the rest of that season to resell. I got a Champion jacket, but that was for personal. I really loved the font that they used on the back of the jacket. That following season, which was last fall winter, I really started reselling. So every week I'd look for products to buy, you know, the pieces that were most hyped and whatnot. So last fall's when I got started. So the fall winter season, like last fall, I'd usually go for like one item every drop, and then I made a decent amount of money. And then I went to the spring summer, the season that we're currently in, and I started going for a lot more items. I'd go for as many that thought would resell, and then also like Palace. This season for the resale, I don't think it's really been there, so I haven't really copped anything from Palace for the resale this season. Like I was saying, I'm trying to, you know, make more, expand a little bit, and just buy as much stuff as I can that I can sell. So like I've been looking for Yeezys and stuff like that as well. So, which gets me to the next point of my like knowledge on fashion, I guess, or my interest with fashion. Trying to build my business or whatever, you know, my reselling page and credibility, profit, all that stuff. I decided to get into sneakers as well as clothing. So I really didn't have a whole lot of knowledge about sneakers. I know I got into reselling because of the Subtempos, but that was just, you know, that's a Supreme thing, which is, if you resell, you know, it's kind of like way different than anything else that resells, because Supreme, people go crazy for it. They'll just, you know, buy pretty much whatever. Like there's a lot of crazy stuff that people pay just ridiculous amounts of money for, whereas Palace is a little bit harder to sell, and, you know, like other brands, it's hard to sell, depending on the item anyway. So moving into the sneaker reselling, I didn't really have a whole lot of knowledge, like I said, so I had to start following different pages, looking up stuff, figuring out how sneaker drops work, because they're a lot more spaced out and sporadic than Supreme drops, which are just routinely every Thursday at 10 o'clock for me. Might be a different time zone for you guys. I had to start researching all that stuff, and I watched like a ton of complex sneaker shopping videos just to kind of see like what everybody thought was popular, you know, what was everybody trying to buy. And it was a little bit obvious that, you know, the Off-White stuff, like the 10, everybody was buying that type of stuff. And then the Subtempos, like a lot of people would buy those. So those were obvious, but I learned a little bit more about the Jordans and stuff like that, so it's kind of cool. Since I got like into the sneaker reselling, I decided, you know, or my opinion kind of changed on sneakers, whereas before I was like, oh, like this pair of shoes is like over $100. It's like, this is, you know, it's hard for me to buy that, put that on my feet, and like knowing that after a couple times wearing it, it's just gonna get like, you know, messed up, or, you know, it's never gonna be the same. It's hard to spend that much money. After looking into all this other stuff, my mindset kind of did what it did with Supreme and the other streetwear clothing stuff, where it was like, oh wow, this stuff is actually pretty cool. I kind of want to buy some of it, and, you know, it's now worth it to me to buy it. Whereas, you know, for a lot of people, it's probably not, just because the stuff is really expensive. Like some of the shoes are over $200, and that's, I copped some Yeezys that were like $212 after shipping. So that's how I got into sneakers. So that's much more recent than streetwear. Streetwear has been quite a few years now. But yeah, sneakers are really recent, and I'm just like in love with the up-tempos. That's pretty much the history and like the background, my origin story for streetwear and sneakers. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave a like. That's about it. Thanks for watching, and see you guys later.